Imagine you're told you're boarding the safest vehicle ever built by human hands. Scientists certified it, engineers guaranteed it, the company advertised it. Now imagine you're watching it crack in half and disappear into the ocean in under 3 hours. This isn't fiction. This is the true story of how arrogance, a single miscommunication, and one sleeping ship captain turned the world's greatest engineering triumph into history's most unforgettable disaster. Hi friends, I'm your curious guide today. And trust me, by the end of this video, you'll have 3 questions for every answer. Let's go. The year is 1912. The world is buzzing. Cars are new, planes barely exist. But one thing is about to make every newspaper headline on the planet. The RMS Titanic. To understand how massive this ship was, picture a 17-story building. Now lay it on its side. Building it costs the equivalent of $400 million today. Inside, a heated swimming pool, a Turkish bath, 4 restaurants, 2 grand staircases, a library, and a squash court. In 1912, meanwhile, in steerage third class, hundreds of immigrants were packed into small, dim cabins, dreaming of America. Now, here's where human ego enters the room. The White Star Line, the company that owned the ship, was so confident in their design that their vice president told the press the Titanic was simply unsinkable. Not very safe. Not the safest ship afloat. Unsinkable. This one word, would cost 1,500 people their lives. People believed it completely, because the company said it again and again, in ads, in interviews, in press releases. April 10, 1912. Southampton, England. 2,200 people board the Titanic. Millionaires in first class, hopeful immigrants in third class, a 700-person crew in between. At the helm, Captain Edward Smith, 62 years old, decorated veteran, about to retire. This was supposed to be his perfect last voyage. Everything felt like a celebration. 2 days in, April 14th. The radio operator starts receiving messages from nearby ships. Caution, large icebergs reported in your path. Then another warning. Then another over the course of April 14th alone. 7 separate ice warnings reached the Titanic. 7. The ship received all 7, and slowed down for exactly none of them. Here's the part that still makes historians angry. J. Bruce Ismay, the chairman of the company that owned the Titanic, was on board the ship himself. At 2 p.m. on April 14th, Captain Smith showed Ismay one of the ice warnings. Ismay folded it up and put it in his pocket. He wanted a speed record. The Titanic's first voyage completing in 6 days would make international news. The ship maintained 21.5 knots, nearly full speed, through waters that other ships had already stopped to wait out. April 14th, 11:30 p.m. The ocean is completely flat. Not a wave, not a ripple. The sky is clear, but there is no moon. On a moonless night, the ocean surface acts like black glass. An iceberg produces no waves, no white water at its base. It becomes almost invisible. High above the deck, in a small metal basket called the Crow's Nest, a sailor named Frederick Fleet was scanning the darkness. Eyes watering from the cold wind, visibility low, no binoculars. They'd been locked away accidentally at Southampton and never replaced. 11:39 p.m., Frederick Fleet sees it. A wall of ice directly in the ship's path. He grabs the bell, 3 rings, then grabs the phone. Iceberg, right ahead. First Officer Murdoch orders a hard left turn and commands the engines to reverse. The helmsman, Robert Hykins, in the panic of the moment, turned the wheel the wrong way. By the time the error was caught and corrected, 37 seconds had passed. The iceberg grazed the right side of the ship, silently. To most passengers, it felt like a brief vibration, but below the waterline, 6 of the ship's 16 watertight compartments had been breached. The ship was designed to survive 20 minutes after impact. Midnight. Captain Smith orders the lifeboats loaded. Here's where the belief in unsinkables directly cost lives. The first lifeboat launched had capacity for 65 people. Only 28 boarded half empty. Why? Because passengers stood on the gleaming, solid, warm, well-lit ship, and looked at a small wooden boat hanging over freezing black water, and thought, the ship is safer. The people who believed the marketing most died because of it. And now the most heartbreaking fact of the entire night. Just 37 kilometers away sat a ship called the SS Californian. Close enough that passengers standing on Titanic's deck could literally see its lights on the horizon. The Californian's radio had been switched off for the night. Standard practice in 1912, crew members on the Californian saw the distress rockets. 8 of them light up the sky. They woke their captain. Captain Stanley Lord looked at the rockets and decided it was the first-class passengers having a party. He went back to sleep. Had Captain Lord acted, he could have reached the Titanic in time. Investigators later confirmed it. As the bow sank lower, Titanic's 8-piece band walked onto the deck and began to play. They played for over 2 hours. Not one of them survived. At 2:17 a.m., the lights went out. At 2:20 a.m., the ship cracked in two. The unsinkable ship was gone in 2 hours and 40 minutes. The water temperature, -2 degrees Celsius. Survival time in water that cold under 15 minutes. The RMS Carpathia, 107 kilometers away, raced through ice fields at full speed the moment it got the distress call. It arrived at 4:10 a.m., 1 hour and 50 minutes after the Titanic sank. 710 survivors. In lifeboats, many in shock. Many with frostbite. 1,517 people did not make it. The Titanic disaster permanently changed how the world thinks about safety at sea. In 1914, the International Ice Patrol was created, and it still operates today, monitoring North Atlantic icebergs. The SOLAS Treaty, Safety of Life at Sea, required every ship to carry enough lifeboats for every single person on board. Not most people. Every person, radio operators were now required to monitor distress frequencies 24 hours a day. No more switching off at bedtime. 1,517 people taught the world lessons it had refused to learn any other way. So let's come back to where we started. The Titanic didn't sink because of bad engineering. It didn't sink because an iceberg appeared out of nowhere. It sank because of something far more human. The belief that being the biggest meant being the best. That confidence could outrun caution. The ocean doesn't negotiate with arrogance, and neither does history. The fact that we know this story, that it changed maritime law, that it saved untold future lives, doesn't undo the cost. But it matters that we remember why. So if the Titanic had received 7 warnings and ignored them all, what warning in your own life are you folding up and putting in your pocket? Drop your answer in the comments. I genuinely want to know what you think. And if this made you see a familiar story in a completely different way, that's exactly what this channel is for. History isn't just old stuff. It's the reason everything around you exists. See you in the next one.